Well, to discuss the wider implications of this story, I'm joined by Temitope Olodo, a security analyst with particular knowledge of the situation in Nigeria. We're going to be talking to our correspondent, Adure Achumba, in Nigeria in a hot second to get the latest on what's actually happening with those attacks. But just let's look at the broader picture. I mean, there is a sting in the tail in all of this, isn't there? Because just when you think this, it's sort of utterly and absolutely over for Boko Haram, there they are again.
Yes.
The question is, how far down into the future does that tail stretch?
Nobody knows at the moment. What we know is that some few days ago, they changed their name again, calling themselves Islamic West African Group. And the fact is that they could hit at will whenever they want to hit. And many people need to realize that the area we're talking about is as big as well. So it's not like the whole area has been combed down and each inch of the area is now controlled by the Nigerian military. It's just a pocket of areas that the Nigerian military has actually had success. And kudos to them, they have actually rescued 300 girls. What we don't know is if the Chibok girls are part of this group, and nothing has come out officially on that.
Okay, Temitope, if you'll stay with us, let's go live now to Lagos and our West Africa correspondent, Adure Achumba. In a sense, I suppose that the focus in the West, Adure, going all the way to Michelle Obama and Angelina Jolie, has always been on the Chibok girls, and it underscores the West's ignorance, if you like, of Boko Haram and its countless other kidnapped victims who suffered a similar fate as the Chibok girls, but have been essentially ignored.
That's right. Many people are surprised that these girls, these women rescued, aren't the Chibok girls. And it really underscores everything that we've been talking about and reporting. The Amnesty International has come out to say that about 2,000 women and children have been kidnapped throughout Boko Haram's insurgency, been held in captivity. And this tactic is something that they really started over the last year and a half. So over this period, you've had women and children, even boys, young men, agile men, being kidnapped. The boys, some of them conscripted into the ranks of the insurgents, being forced to fight against their own will. Those who don't convert or who don't agree to fight get killed. The women married off to the militants, also used as human shields and used as dispatch for their suicide bombings that are carried around the country, and also, most disturbingly, also as sex slaves. And even, Abubakar Shekau having threatened in one of his videos that he was going to sell them off into other countries in the region. So it's very troubling, and the fact that people only remember or only speak about the Chibok girls, I mean, the Chibok girls are important. They are a symbol of what has happened, but there are several other women and children whose stories we were never going to know about until they're found.
Absolutely, and as you said there correctly, Adure, the Chibok girls were, of course, seen as a prize asset of Boko Haram and were clearly held under very tight security. So what we do know is that we don't know whether they are being held in the Sambisa forest or somewhere else.
That's right. We don't know where the Chibok girls are. That is one fact that everybody is clear on. There were sightings and claims from witnesses about where they were kept. In the beginning of the saga, we had about 60 girls who had escaped who said that the girls were being held in Sambisa forest. In fact, it was believed that that was where they were being held all this while. The villagers and the vigilantes had directed the Nigerian military to go into Sambisa forest, and that was where the girls were. But we didn't see any action from the Nigerian military. We've also heard that they were being held in Gwoza, the supposed caliphate of the Boko Haram group. and of course, that witness account from another woman who was in captivity, who said that the girls were being held there. But then the military captured Gwoza and no Chibok girls. We've also heard of a massacre in Bama of wives of the insurgents. It was believed that the insurgents killed them as they were fleeing so that they wouldn't marry or be married off to the soldiers. Again, suspicions that some of the Chibok girls may have been there. Nothing can be confirmed because nobody really knows where these girls are.
Very briefly, Adure, the women and the girls who were rescued or released by the Nigerian army, who were discovered in the Sambisa forest, do we know yet who they are, where they've come from?
We are getting some indication as to who these women are, although no official confirmation from the military. But sources are indicating that these may be the group of women that were kidnapped in some other towns, including Gumsuri, Madagali, and Dambawa. Gumsuri, for instance, on December 18, around that time, we got reports that 185 women and girls had been kidnapped from there. That was a report that didn't get much media play. Again, this area very remote. The people who were giving out this information said they had to walk to Maiduguri to give the information to the media at the IDP camp. So we didn't know about that kidnapping until several days after it actually happened. You also have kidnapping incidents in Gwoza as well. So the military is currently doing its interviewing and screening and trying to get the stories out of these women and girls as to where exactly they're from. But for what we do know now, there are indications that they could be from any of those kidnappings that happened in those other towns.
Adure Achumba, our West Africa correspondent there, thank you very much indeed. And of course, Temitope Olodo, the security analyst with particular knowledge of the situation in Nigeria, is still with us. The Nigerian army has, of course, been making heavy weather of this Sambisa forest offensive. How important is this operation to them?
It's quite important because if you look at the map of the forest, it has exit corridors into 6 of the neighboring northeast states.
That's very interesting.
Actually affected.
That's something I didn't know about.
Yeah, so when you look at it, the people that have been picked up from any of those states could actually end up in those areas. And what you would have expected is that the states in particular, so we should not be talking about the federal government alone, but the states where kids have been reported missing, we have a catalogue of those children that are missing, have their pictures, or take DNA from the families, because some of these girls will be brainwashed. Some of them might not even know where they're from. So these are serious issues and concerns. Why I respect and understand what the military have achieved. We have to downplay some of this achievement because of the fact that there's still a lot of girls out there. Now, at least over 1,000 girls still out there kidnapped, and there needs to be a strategy to ensure that those girls, when they're brought back, are well debriefed. I don't know when these girls were picked up, what kind of information were obtained from them in order to be able to go after other people that are being held.
Are you still amazed, though, as many people are, by how a scratch force of untrained militants have managed to hold up against what was thought to be the most powerful army divisions in sub-Saharan Africa?
Yeah, I think when you study terrorism and some of the drivers of terrorism, this group are able to recruit at will, because not only is it that they have their philosophy or ideology that is driving them. The fact is that we've not actually stopped the tap of how they're getting their recruitment. So until we're able to stop that tap, we'll kill 1 Boko Haram, 3 will be recruited. And that's where the challenge is. And it's about containment strategy. Because one of the things we found out is that even with all the local governments and towns that have been captured back, atrocities still going on, Boko Haram still able to strike at will. And it talks to the issue of what kind of containment strategy do the military have in place to ensure that when they win a place, they hold on to it.
So what's your forecast of the future based on what you're seeing happening now? Is it just a matter of time before the army has Boko Haram by the throat?
It will take some time. I know that there are debates now, even within the military and within the political cycle, about allowing the United Nations in, the multinational task force that they were looking at recruiting. So if they could allow that in, I know there's some people that are against it, but what we need is an army that's well equipped, which we have seen within the last 8 weeks, do great work, supported by other countries, being able to flush out Boko Haram, but being able to hold it. If they're able to hold down the ground, maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, Boko Haram will not be able to have the kind of, will.
So you still see it going on for the next 3, 4 years, even though you've got a man like Muhammadu Buhari, a respected general, someone who's from the north, who's crushed previous insurgencies in Nigeria, you still see that it might take that long?
It will take some time. It's not possible to eradicate Islamic radicalization like that overnight. And these are individuals that are brainwashed. So you need to have a different kind of program and strategy to be able to, curtail them. But that said, he has the experience. He has promised to use scatocrats and work with the community. And that's the most important key and approach in order to deal with them.
Temitope Olodo, the security analyst, thank you very much indeed. Well, with me in the studio are the security analyst Temitope Olodo and the political campaigner Vava Tampa, who founded the Save the Congo pressure group. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for, you staying with us and you coming in, Vava. And to start with you, Vava, I mean, we've heard it all before, haven't we, as far as South Sudan is concerned. I mean, what makes a peaceful settlement more likely this time, in your assessment?
Well, in my opinion, I haven't seen anything substantial that that ensures me or promises me or gives me hope to believe that this time is going to work. We need to realize that since this conflict erupted in December 2013, there has been dozens of peace agreements, peace deals, and some sort of protocol signed between the government and the opposition and so forth, and all of them have failed. And that tells us two things substantially. One is that both sides feel that they can still win using military power and so forth, and we know, through history that that is not possible. No conflict in that part of the world has been won through military power. And the second thing, which is really substantial, this also tells us that both parties essentially do not have respect for the organization which is mediating the peace process, or the organization which is mediating the peace process cannot actually enforce the peace which they are, they force the both sides to sign on a piece of paper. And those are crucial elements.
That's a very interesting dimension to all of this, isn't it? Because I think that the point that Vava made there about the fact that the two sides believe that they potentially can win militarily is a crucial element. And that raises the question of whether or not you're going to be able to achieve any type of durable peace if you've still got Riek Machar and Salva Kiir in the picture.
Exactly. And I think one of the good moves we've seen so far is that some African countries and countries outside Africa has actually shown interest. So we know that representative of the 5 regions within Africa has been asked to get involved in it. So we have countries like Nigeria, South Africa. These are big powerhouses that could detect what could happen. We have the UK, we have the United States getting involved. Now, just like my colleague has rightly said, these individuals don't have respect, for the mediation process. And I think it's time that they either, ask, to, start obeying the rules, or they will be dealt with themselves, by the international community. And I think when that step is taken and they know that maybe some of their properties have been seized, they have travel ban on them, I think they will wake up, because it's not just about them alone, it's also about their followers. So even if they, agree, to the negotiation process, we don't know what their fellows are.
Because, of course, Vava, the regional powers, as Temitope just pointed out, in the form of IGAD, have been working hard to broker this peace. I mean, they've been at it, as you pointed out as well, for a long time. But the fact is that there's been 18 months of bloody civil war in that country, and you simply can't turn off the tap of hostility.
But crucially also, the same regional power have actually taken side. We know that Uganda has, for instance, intervened on behalf of the government of South Sudan. And that is a problematic issue because it tells the government of South Sudan that, you know what, I don't need to make any compromise, okay? Because if anything should happen to me, I have military support from Uganda who would use their military to come, you know, to keep me in power. And those are the crucial elements to this issue. And I think it's time that bigger fish within the continent actually step up to the plate. So I want to see South Africa, for instance. I want to see Nigeria and few other countries to actually rise up to the plate. So we need to put
pressure on the neighbouring countries not to take sides.
Well, as things stand, certainly Uganda, the region on itself, should not and do not have the mandate or the legitimacy to end this conflict because
or
they
even
have
the capacity to end.
They have taken sides. So if we see perhaps bigger power, you know, South Africa, Nigeria and so forth, rising up to sort of say, you know what, this is the end and this is how things will be done, and the AU, rather than having regional, small, tiny regional body dealing with this, the AU will now deal with this as a priority, then we might see some sort of changes.
The problem, of course, Temitope, is that even if Salva Kiir and Riek Machar reach some level of compromise and agree to kind of work together, there's so much resentment that's been bred, not just between the two men, but around their supporters. And then there's this very insidious tribal element which could rear its ugly head.
Definitely, and we're talking of a country where weapons are freely flowing around. And that's the reason why there needs to be a roadmap to ensure that those two individuals are actually taken out of the picture. Because it's not just about those two individuals are a powerhouse in their own respective sense, and as a result, you know, I don't see it giving way since you know, the dismissal of the cabinet. You know, the vice president, you know, has been, you know, shouting, "No, this is a coup, this is a, you know, dictatorship," and all those things.
And of course, to further emphasize that point that you're making, Vava, I mean, the army is divided between two sides. So you've got very trained professional troops.
Yes.
I mean, how are they going to come back together? They've been fighting each other and work together again.
This is the crucial element in this situation, which is one of the reasons we have this crisis, you know, if we take out the two big fishes, you know, Salva Kiir and Bashar, is the fact that, you know, after when South Sudan became independent, you had the government essentially inviting all the smaller militia groups to join the army. And those militia groups retained their loyalty to the different commanders. And that's the reason the army is amazingly divided. Now, the fact is, and we need to face up to the fact, that we cannot speak of peace in that part of the world without Salva Kiir or Bashar. So we need those two people. And we know they can work. They were enemies in 2001. They came together for South Sudan to become independent. So they can come together again to make it happen, but we simply need to see the international community rising up, and we want to see the regional power actually stepping up and putting pressure on them.
Vava Tampa and Temitope Olodo, thank you very much.